in my language, Bangla. I am Mohammed Shajidur Rahman from Bangladesh, as Prem has said. And this evening I will be talking about teachers' collaboration, which is, I think, Rehma has already talked a little bit about collaborative teachers work in school or school-based professional development. Now, in my presentation, I won't talk much about the research methodology because I am concerned about the time, and especially at this moment after the long day. I believe most of you are like just thinking how I can go out of school. So I try to make it short, and I'm trying to just tell my story. So my story basically started back in 2016 when I started my PhD at the Open University UK. On that time, the original proposal, PhD proposal, was to see the link between teachers, peer support, teachers collaboration, and student learning. Two very distinct aspects, very challenging to link up. And my supervisors, they made me aware that you were trying to do something very difficult thing, so be aware of that. So keeping that in mind, I tried to grasp all the knowledge, existing knowledge around teachers collaboration. And what I've found is the definition of teachers collaboration is basically, obviously, the research in this area, in teachers professional development, and in general research mostly dominated by the Western scholars, Western knowledge system. And here the scholarly writing says that collaboration is basically direct and indirect interaction between two equal parties which should be spontaneous out of their own shared goal and own shared interest. So in the definition, if you see the relationship, this is very, very important. This has been emphasized by several scholars. However, some scholars argue that in the area of teachers collaboration, we conflated the two words, collaboration and collegiality. While collaboration is a bit like formal, shared, goal-oriented, and pragmatic sort of thing, collegiality is, depending on the relationship, it's a bit informal, that sort of thing. However, in most of the cases, the relationship is important. Even though formal collaboration, you can't bring two people in the seat holding their hand and say, sit together and do collaboration. That won't happen. And even if it happens, because of your power structure, it won't sustain. So relationship is very important. However, when we go to see the research practice, fortunately or unfortunately, we try to see the pragmatic thing. We try to see what is basically happening, what tangible thing is happening, whether they are sharing experience, sharing resources, whether they are doing lesson planning together, observing each other's classroom, giving feedback, doing action research. Rehma has talked about action classroom research. So these are the things we try to see in terms of teachers collaboration. We try to see what are the impact on their classroom practice and their students' learning outcome. Now, while we see this, and based on this sort of research, we developed school-based teachers development, teachers professional development model that adopt the concept of collaboration and bring it to the low and middle income country context, resource constrained context. The problem is when we run the project, it goes, for example, I was involved in a large-scale teacher development project in Bangladesh that promoted teachers' peer support. During the 9 years of that project, when we go to observe the school activity, we see, okay, teachers are doing, we interview teachers, they said, yeah, we do. But when the project was phased out, the activity was phased out, very honestly speaking. So this, Rehma talked about the lesson study model. This is also developed based on the very social culture of Japanese, culture system, cultural value. That implemented in my country, that is adopted by my government. They said every Thursday. Thursday is half school, we say half working day, because teachers work 6 days a week. So after the half day, you spend a couple of hours to do this type of lesson study. You one teacher show the lesson, and then other give feedback on that. But after 5.5 days work, each day handling 50 to 100 students in one class, 6 to 7 classes a day, do you expect that teacher, when the formally school is finished, they sit together again and do this professional development? We can't expect. It's not realistic, so it doesn't happen. So that's basically the situation when we see the collaboration as pragmatic and very formal interaction thing. And when I went to Bangladesh to do a pilot study, keeping in mind that I'm going to see the teachers' collaboration and its impact on the students' learning outcome, getting all the knowledge, Western knowledge in my head, when I saw, spend 1 month in the school, I saw, oh my God, there is no collaboration at all. In the whole month, I never saw a teacher or head teacher went to anyone's class and see their classroom and talked about the class formally. So I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose my scholarship, and my course is going to finish. So, and towards the end of the pilot study fieldwork, I thought, well, hold on. Is there any gap between our understanding and the existing practice in the low and middle development context? So I started to talk about collaboration with the teachers, and I asked, what do you mean? What do you value about collaboration? He said, look, we know what you mean by collaboration. We came to lots of projects that run by the Western and international agencies. We know what you mean by collaboration. We don't have time to do that sort of collaboration. We don't have time to sit behind my colleague's class for filling out form and then talk about that form later. Yeah. What we do, we go when we have got time. We go through the corridor. We peep into my colleague's house. We don't mind, and my colleague doesn't mind for me to peep into his classroom and talk about his teaching later after the class. Yeah. So that's how we do this practice. And moreover, we don't do only interaction within the school. After school, we sit up in our tea stall for a couple of hours. We talk about our personal life. We go to each other's house very frequently, and this is because the primary school teachers are allowed to take placement in the nearest school, because the government they can't provide that much salary. They can't provide the transportation cost, so they allow the teacher to take placement in the nearest school, and that's how the school teacher, primary school teachers, especially in rural Bangladesh, they are from same locality. They know each other at the family level, and some of them are really family relatives. So they have very rich interaction between them. So I recorded their staff room conversation and some conversation in the social spaces, for example, in the mosque, in the tea stall. And when I analyzed it, I saw the trend of talking in most of the cases. It starts from the family and social conversation, and somehow very subconsciously they move to the professional conversation, and then subconsciously come out from the professional conversation to the social spaces. So I call this middle space as liminal space, and the concept of liminal space I relate with the largest mangrove forest in my country called Sundarban, and a huge part of the forest is neither marine place nor terrestrial. Sometimes the marine water come to that place and then go back again. So it's neither terrestrial nor the marine, but it's very rich, it's very fertile. And this is the same in the conversation. It starts from the social conversation, family conversation, and then come to the professional conversation, and then go back to the social conversation. This is liminal space, and I call this space really potential. However, while I'm praising all these social cultural values and the relationship aspect, the problem with this is very subconscious, and this is very unstructured, and it comes and goes away. It doesn't contribute to their professional development that much. So, based on my finding, what I propose that they need a sort of framework that would not constrain their social interaction, that doesn't impose that won't be imposed on them, that will rather empower them to do their collaboration in a focused way for their professional development. And I propose this to the Economic and Social Research Council. You see the logo there of UK government, and they liked that idea, and they allowed me 1 year to develop framework for teachers focused professional collaboration in Bangladesh primary school. So if you see, then I collaborated with one of the government agencies in Bangladesh. They are responsible for the largest amount of teachers' professional development, and we collaboratively came up with the idea. It's basically based on an existing learning model called spiral inquiry model, and this spiral inquiry model is basically has got 6 stages, but we cannot give the teacher with a very academic heavy model that they cannot absorb, because most of them, they are with very, very basic qualification, and you know all the constraint in this context. So we simplified it to 4 stages. The first one is sharing, and as I said, they do lots of sharing in social and professional spaces. And what is lacking in their sharing is they hardly do any critical analysis of what they are sharing and how this sharing can be useful for their professional development, for their improvement in their teaching. And they do recording of their monthly meeting, staff meeting in a very huge, large ledger, book. But most of the discussion is next week. This officer is going to coming to visit our classroom. So who is going to clean the toilet? Who is going to wash the walls? So that sort of discussion are there. And once they are recorded, they're never. They never go back to that discussion what they recorded in there. So it's the ledger book. They write the discussion and put it in the locker forever. So we say that this conversation needs to be somehow recorded. Somehow recorded so that they can reuse it. And the 3 stages have to be evaluated, that whether these are being helpful for their teaching, or if not, then how they can change it. So this is how we came with this framework, and we thought that this framework is not restricting, it's not binding the teacher to do any specific thing. We say that you share whatever you want to share and however you share in your existing practice. But you try to think critically about this sharing, how you can use it in your teaching, and then try to record it somehow. It doesn't matter if you think we don't have any resources, record it in your mind. If you have any resources, see what resource you can use to record it, and then evaluate it. So that's how we came up with this framework. But again, although this framework is based on my previous ethnographic study, we thought we must need to show it to the teachers and see whether it is making meaning to them and whether it's possible for them to use it. So we conducted 3 workshops with 45 teachers in Bangladesh, and I basically completed the workshop last month, so we didn't have chance to rigorously analyze the data. But as I was in the workshop myself, and I skimmed through the data, the feedback we received from them, they said that we do share in 3 main spaces: in-person, face-to-face in the school, in-person, face-to-face outside of the school in social spaces, and also, especially during the pandemic, we created lots of virtual spaces where we do this type of sharing. So sharing can be in 3 different areas. Critical building, they said, yes, this is what we are lacking now, so we need to be aware of this. They said nowadays we don't, we record things on the ledger book, but we have laptop, we have smartphone with us, so we can record with this here, and we can share this recording on our social media so that we can interact. So that is very assuring. What they say that when you say evaluation, we thought the education officer is coming to us and see what we are doing in terms of collaboration. So since this is not the case, we will we will evaluate ourselves. So let's make it self-reflection rather than evaluation. So that's how we are addressing their feedback in the model, and then we the way forward is based on the model. We are trying to do some policy seminars, develop some policy brief to advocate the government to adopt that sort of framework. And we are also in collaboration with the government agency to develop a course. They have a very rich platform. Several hundred thousands of teachers are subscribers of that platform, and we are on a way of developing a course for this. So thank you so much. That was my story. And this I mean, my research is funded by the Economic and Social Research Council of the UK government, and I'm based at Open University. And if you think, I mean, this is useful, here's my Twitter handle is correct, and I'm posting my research there. Thank you so much.